Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today we are talking about knowing your audience, reading the room, understanding who you are talking to, and why that is so important. It's so critical in life. It doesn't mean that you're a fake person, that you're withholding information or framing things in a different light, depending on if you're talking to your grandmother or your friend. But it is an important idea. It's being like a conscious person in the world. You're probably not going to speak the same way to your best friend as you are to your grandmother or your mother or, a family friend that has been involved with your family for years and years and years. So I basically wanted to talk about this because I think a lot of us don't filter what we say in certain situations and certain environments. I've definitely had this problem and I've witnessed this problem, and it can be awkward. It can be really damaging. It can be very eye-opening when somebody speaks to you in a way that you're not used to, and you kind of realize like, oh, this is who this person is. And in a lot of ways, like, it's just good to be conscious of this idea and this problem, and to understand that your audience will definitely change the way you talk, what you talk about, and how you communicate these things. We all have ideas and, ideologies and concepts about the world and how it all works. And those ideas, ideologies, and concepts can shift depending on who you're talking to. You might talk about one aspect of life or some crazy stories or dates or whatever that you've experienced. You might talk about that in one way with a friend, and you might frame it in a totally different way with another friend or with a family member or, God forbid, your parents. I think so many of us have these filters, and we understand that it is important to know who your audience is, know who you're talking to, but some of us really struggle with this idea. And I think one of the things that you see online on social media a lot is when somebody really doesn't know their audience. I always go back to the idea of when you post, if you have Facebook, I don't have Facebook, but if you have Facebook, when somebody posts something like very traumatic or meaningful or impactful, there's always going to be that one comment on a Facebook post that's just really tone deaf. That's just really like, oh, well, your mom and I love you, honey. Hope you have an amazing day. And it's like the post is about like someone struggling with their mental health or something. And so you get these like really tone deaf comments and things. And you see this on social media all the time. And it's kind of funny if it wasn't so like tragic and depressing. But we look at those things and we're like, man, that's so tone deaf. Like, this person clearly didn't know their audience. They couldn't read the room. They don't understand that everyone can see this comment, and it makes them look so callous or bad or unappreciative or out of the loop. And we see this on social media. We see celebrities do this, politicians, like everything. And I think you should just always be a little conscious of, what is the purpose of this? What is the purpose of me doing X, Y, or Z? Why exactly am I discussing it in this way? Why am I doing it this way? Who is the audience? Who is going to listen to this? Who am I trying to convince? What am I trying to convince them of? These kinds of questions take like 2 seconds to think about and to understand and comprehend. And yet they prevent you from seeming so out of the loop, so crazy, so erratic. And I've definitely experienced this where I've maybe shared a little too much with my parents, or I've let some gossip slip with a friend and the gossip like involved them and I didn't realize it. And you can very quickly become the bad guy or the source of frustration. And you got to be conscious of it. I was really bad at this as a kid. I was really bad at, and I think kids are in general. Like, when you go to the supermarket and a kid says something like super audacious, and everyone sort of looks at it and then looks at the parents and is like, excuse me, like, the kid doesn't understand the social contract. Like, we don't make fun of people's weight. We don't do things like that. And yet kids don't have that barrier. They don't understand, like, no, that's not something that's appropriate to say. You can communicate with like your inner circle, and hopefully you're not being a jerk, but you can't say those things out loud. Like it's not appropriate, and it can hurt people's feelings and impact how people view you as a person and you as that little kid in the grocery store. So understanding who your audience is really important. I think you also have to understand like your social media impact, your personal impact. You know, if you have Christmas cards, if you have a Facebook, if you have, you know, whatever form of communication that's not face-to-face, you need to understand like, who is my audience? Who is going to see this? Who is going to make comments about it? Or what is this going to portray about me? And, you know, you'll never fully be able to control what people think of you. You'll never fully be able to control how people are going to perceive you if you post something on Instagram, for example. But a good idea would just be to try and take yourself out of your own perspective and go, how would a total stranger look at this? You know, is this something that I want to represent? Is this my core belief? Is this like a value that puts my best foot forward? And if not, maybe don't. Maybe just don't post it. Maybe just avoid that desire to, you know, show off, put it out there. And I hope this is just like a short, sweet little thing about understanding who your audience is, who exactly you are communicating with, and why it's important to be a little conscious of that. So thank you for listening. As my lovely audience, let me know what you think about, you know, understanding your audience, understanding who you are communicating with. What are you saying about yourself, and who are the people receiving it? And does that matter? Because sometimes it doesn't. But thank you for listening. I hope you're having a beautiful day, month, year, century, millennium, decade, eon, epoch, whatever you're having. I hope it's amazing. And as always, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.